Hello and welcome to Retro Roleplay, the series where we examine new titles with old school sensibilities. Today we'll be playing a little bit of Dragon's Dogma: Dark Arisen, a old 360 title more recently ported to the PC, along with a host of graphical upgrades. So let's get started and see what sort of trouble we can get into. So to talk a little bit about this title, it is a very unique merger of action and role-playing elements. You can see the inspiration for the game coming from several places, Devil May Cry being chief among them, as well as Shadow of the Colossus, and a little bit of Tales of Vesperia in there. Of course, one of the biggest mechanics is that you can climb on all the larger enemies. You can climb all over their bodies and hop around, as well as using combos and skills. So we'll have a chance here to show off some of the features. We'll start with the role-playing elements here on Bitter Black Isle. So this woman here is kind of the host to the endgame dungeon. She'll allow you to change your character class as well as your skills, which is very important. So let's take a look at first. It's all the classes available to your main hero character. So you have the fighter, who of course is your standard sword and board tank. Very capable in melee combat. You can also taunt, and as the class levels up in rank, it'll have some pretty devastating attacks that can bring down even the largest monsters. Then we have Strider, which is your standard, more roguish style character. Comes with a bow and arrow and daggers. A lot of quick attacks that don't really stun enemies, but will build up damage rather quickly. They're also very good at climbing enemies. We have the Mage, which of course you use for enchantments and spells and elemental damage. We have the Warrior, who is very much your Conan the Barbarian type, uses a huge, massive sword or hammer to charge up very devastating attacks, but the attacks are very slow and leave a large window for you to be counterattacked. You have the Ranger, that is a little different from the Strider in that it uses a long bow instead of a standard short bow. So the attacks are more powerful but require a lot more time to charge up. Then you have the Sorcerer, and again you're probably noticing a trend here, but the spells are more devastating, but again take a larger time to charge up. You have the Mystic Knight, and this is what's called a hybrid vocation, and they're only available for the main character because they're quite powerful. The Mystic Knight is your mix of mage and warrior. You have the Assassin, which is the mix of warrior and rogue. And then you have the Magic Archer, which is a mix of rogue and mage. Now, I'm an assassin, and that's going to offer me a few possibilities in terms of how I want to build my character. You can either focus on swords or daggers in your primary equipment slot, and then you can focus on shields or bows. So rather than getting too bogged down in the RPG mechanics, we're just going to jump straight into the dungeon, and we're going to see what sort of trouble we can get into. Now, you may notice that I'm actually being followed by 3 party members, and they are what's called pawns. And you can't control them directly, but they will fight with you, and you can set up some basic AI parameters for them. For instance, they can be more or less aggressive. They can focus on looting for items. They can focus on healing you, and all those AI parameters are available. And in fact, I will show you them very quickly. Under Profile, you can see that he is primarily Scather and secondary Mitigator. Basically, what that means is his 2 primary personality types of my pawn is that he will at first focus on dealing with the largest enemies, and then as a mitigator he'll focus on the smaller enemies as well, which is exactly what you want a warrior to be doing. You don't want him running off trying to collect items. So spending a little bit of time on kind of sorting out his skills or abilities is definitely a good idea. So as we delve deeper into the dungeon, you may have noticed that I've already cleared the enemies on this floor, but that's okay. We'll just keep on going down. And this brings us to the main hub area of Bitter Black Isle. It's called Dusk Moon Tower, and it is quite beautiful. There is some visuals to be enjoyed in this game. For example, we have bushes and deer, and a giant oak tree there, and it is all this kind of lighting effects that you get on PC, thankfully. And wouldn't be as noticeable on the 360 version. Okay, so let's just go into the dungeon and see what we can find. So we're in the Vault of Defiled Truths, so let's see if we can defile some truths down here. And as you can see, the dungeons here are very horrific. Oh, no, we got some bugs! Now, showing off the combat a little bit, you have your basic light attack, which is this combo here. There is no lock-on system, so you do just kind of have to manually aim your character at things as they fight. Oh, you can see that my lantern just went out, so let's just sort that out real quick. As you would expect, if your character gets soaked in water, that actually will put out your lantern. And in this game, dark is very, very dark. Okay, we got some hobgoblins and a cockatrice. So here, I'll just show off some bow gameplay here. You can get headshots. Alright, but we have to focus on the cockatrice, otherwise he will drink our milkshake, and he already knocked me to the ground. So we're going to hop on his head, and we're going to use our 100 Kisses ability, which will allow us to continually slice him with our daggers right in the head, which is going to do a lot of damage. As you can see, it's just melting his health bar. But he is kind of like a bull in a rodeo. He's going to try to hop around and knock me off, which will deplete my stamina. Hopefully, while he's distracted with me, though, he's actually, my pawns will focus on beating on him a little bit. Oh no! He seems to be kind of stuck in the tree right now, which isn't good. Alright, we're making progress. Hopefully he does seem to have turned one of my pawns to stone, though, which is unfortunate, because I didn't bring any restorative items with me. Oh no! Yeah. So sometimes you have to weigh your options. Sometimes it's better to climb, and other times it's better just to stay on the ground and pelt him with arrows, especially when you're low on stamina. I'm trying to avoid his stone breath, just so my character doesn't instantly die. Alright. We've almost got him, though. And those goblins really aren't going to be an issue for us. We'll cut right through them. Even just with our light attacks. Although I'll show off Snake Bite here, which is this ability. Just does a little bit of extra damage, knocks him to the ground. Oh, right. We should be able to finish him off now with our... oh, yep, there we go. Okay. Yeah, that's just showing off a little bit of Dragon's Dogma combat. As you can see, it's very hectic, and I did just lose my pawn there because he turned to stone, unfortunately. But you are allowed to summon him back at any rift gate. It's not a permanent thing. You're not, like, losing out on your pawn forever. So, more than anything, despite all the RPG mechanics in play, it is, of course, an action title. More akin to Devil May Cry. It's very hectic, there's a lot going on screen, and you are primarily focusing on not getting hit by attacks. Now, to make sure that doesn't happen, you do have this dodge ability. I also have a counter ability called Masterful Kill, which is unique to the assassin. Snakebite I showed you before, which was this stab that goes into a little knockdown combo. And then 100 Kisses is your basic blade flurry, where you can rack up that dagger damage. Fivefold Flurry, Machine Gun Blast, Mighty Bend, which is a bit of a charge-up move for a heavy shot. And then, as the assassin, I also have this Sniper ability, which is useful at times to reach faraway enemies. So we have a Rift Stone here that's broken, but we want to summon our pawn back, so we're going to spend some Rift Crystals and reassemble it. That way we can get our boy back.
Let us continue our exploration.
And here he comes right now. There he is, our max level fighter. Clothed in very epic looking gear. Now, showing off the NPCs a little bit, I do believe there is a gentleman here that's there to upgrade your gear. So I'll show him off real quick. Here he is. So this is Barok, and he is primarily there for upgrading your gear, and also again allows you to swap out your skills as necessary. Now, the one thing I want to show off here, and I didn't get to it before, is the equip skills screen. So of course on the dagger's end you can see all my skills, but I can switch them out freely for any other ones I've learned. But then there's one more facet to the system, and this is where kind of the role play comes in more so than anything, and that's the augments, which is this list of passive abilities that will have a very substantial impact on the way your character plays. So in the case of my assassin, because she's a little fragile, I have focused on Bastion and Fortitude, which greatly increases her physical defense, awareness, and that word, which greatly increases her defense against magic attacks, and Predation, which actually will restore some health whenever she kills an enemy, which assassins are very good at, and Resistance, which prevents her chances of getting debilitated. That means like poison and any effects like that are not going to affect her as severely. Focusing on Alex just to show a little bit of change in his ability, in his augments. He still has Bastion and Awareness because they're just general purpose. They're very strong general purpose augments. Just obviously, if your pawns and yourself are staying alive longer, that's a very good thing. More on the aggressive side, however, we have Vehemence, which augments the strength of the character. We have Clout, greatly augments the strength. Exhilaration, which provides more strength when standing at death's door. I would never recommend taking this on your character, because you never want your character to be almost dead, because if your main character dies, you lose the game. If the pawn dies, you just bring him back. So Exhilaration is a good choice, and then Proficiency reduces the stamina drain of skills. On the aggressive side, we have Steel Will, which basically gives him hyper armor, which means he can't be knocked over. We have Dragon's Maw, which is a big combo attack, and Soul Skewer, which kind of pins enemies, and he continues to drive the sword into them, dealing damage. Shield side, we have Shield Storm, which is a simple shield bash. This is a shield bash combo called Symbol Onslaught, and Sheltered Assault allows him to do a multi-stab combo from behind his shield. And yeah, that's everything on the roleplay front. The game builds up very slowly. This is endgame content, so I have everything unlocked, but it builds up very slowly. You start with only basic abilities and a level 1 character class, and then you're free to customize however you want. So I am going to take us through a little bit more combat. Just going to clear this dungeon so you can see how it all comes together. And you can decide whether or not Dragon's Dogma is a game that is doing enough of something unique that it's worth playing for you. And I don't mind kind of looking past the dated visuals a bit, that they don't offend me. As much as I love having a title look great on my system, on my laptop, it's not mandatory if I feel like on the gameplay end there's something unique happening. So that's a Saurian right there. It's a lizard that can cloak itself, so that's why you can't see it. And all you see is a little blur around him that gives you an indication of where he is. So again, we're using 5 full flurry to take out these guys. There's a giant Sulfur Saurian here who's going to be a little beefier. We'll use Snake Bite, which is that ability right there. It's like a stab combo. There's also a chance for it to poison enemies, but I wouldn't rely on that. It's, you have to do it so many times in a row that it's not really worth it. Okay, and we made it through there. So, again, on the visual side, I find that there's more to look at in the overworld, but even here, there is some things to see. And just very quickly, I would like to take us through the overworld, if possible, but I want to save that for a different video. So yeah, ending things off this for Retro Roleplay, this is Nifty, and have yourself an awesome day.